Welcome to Scarves and Spikes.
Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jürgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Welcome everybody to the season finale, the regular season finale of Scarves and Spikes. I got that right?
Yeah, you did.
It could be a two-parter.
Pre-decision day episode, Scarves and Spikes.
It could be a two-part season finale, depending on what happens, and then we can do the end credit episode. I guess that would be the playing game. I don't know.
Stay through the credits.
Always stay through the credits.
But how's it going, guys?
It's going well. You guys know I'm a half full person. I'm strangely optimistic about Saturday. Of course, we'll talk about Saturday's match in depth a little bit later on. But looking at kind of the permutations, which we'll discuss, which you guys already know, but we'll refresh. But
say that word again.
Permutations.
Okay, I just didn't have that on my bingo card to hear today.
The scenarios, the favorable scenarios that Atlanta need to get into the play-in round. I feel strangely optimistic, although I know things could go spectacularly south on Saturday, on decision day. So, again, we'll run through them for you guys here in a little bit just to refresh you on what Atlanta needs outside of a win against Orlando. But Tyler, how are you guys feeling, by the way?
I mean, I also am confident I am not as confident about them actually making the playoffs because you have to rely on other crap. But
playoffs or play in game?
Yes, you're right. But I'm confident that they can go and win this match against Orlando because I think they came out with a little bit of extra pizzazz the other day. And though they made plenty of mistakes, if you can keep that going and just focus on the fact that you just got to go win your game, takes a lot of the thought process out of it. Just go do it. And I think they can.
They've shown some promise over the past few weeks. Yes, it hasn't always resulted in 3 points every single time out, but they've shown some promise. They've shown some baby steps. And, we've talked about this before. If they don't ultimately make it out, they're going to look back at 2, 3, 4 matches where they're going to say, gosh, if we had won that match or we'd have drawn that match, we'd have been in the postseason right about now. The math just works out that way. And I'm not going to go into it super in depth because you guys already know we've already had those discussions, like I said, but you at least have a chance. You at least have a chance going into Saturday, decision day against Orlando City, a team that's very much in form. And we'll get to more of a discussion with Devon Kerr here in a little bit. Tyler and I had a chance to chat with him, but Orlando are in form. They're a dangerous team. Their past playoff history aside, this is, I think I've mentioned, the dark horse to come out of the Eastern Conference. So I still feel optimistic about that, optimistic about a win. But again, like I said earlier, things could go south pretty badly for Atlanta United. But can they kind of bring in the quote-unquote, not magic, but sort of good-ish form that they've been in over the past few matches, that little spark that they've carried over the past few matches, and apply to Orlando? Because Tyler, like you said, to kind of quote the late Al Michaels, just win, baby. Win and hope everything else falls into place. That way you can walk away, and even if you don't make it to the playing game, even though you'll have regrets about, gosh, we should have won XYZ match, you at least say, we went down swinging, we went down with the maximum effort that we needed to at least give ourselves half a chance to make the planned round or postseason, what have you. So it's not the most desirable position to be in right now, but it's a lot better than, say, TFC or Nashville, or certainly the Revs, who have absolutely nothing to play for except pride and maybe to get their kids some playing time. This is meaningful soccer, for better or for
Despite all the
worse.
craziness, you still have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really all you can ask for on decision day. Either be in or at least have a chance.
Yeah, and like I'm not nervous about this at all because it's an extra game, right? If you get the extra game, cool. If you don't, like Bruno put in the chat, I want them to win the game and don't make the playoffs so they could reset. And like, there's really no pressure on this, right? It's cool if you get that extra game, but I'm also just ready for the reboot, right? I think things are going to start flowing fast, right? I mean, at least that's the hope, right? That, I mean, maybe a Mr. Henderson shows up on the door on Sunday afternoon and says, "I'm here," knocking on the door. You don't know what's going to happen, but like that's what excites me is looking into next season and getting ready. But if you got this game, you enjoy the last one. I'm gonna have my main TV on Atlanta United. I'm gonna got my little TV on the side on. I'm gonna do the MLS 4-screen thing with all the other games and
Just
watch
turn
along.
on MLS
And
360.
well,
Come on, crew.
well, you got to have them all on there at once because I don't
Right.
care about Vancouver, what Vancouver's doing on decision day. Like some of the people in Vancouver don't even care. They're watching the Canucks. Okay, they're watching the Vancouver Canucks. Right?
Definitely
It's
hockey
hockey
season.
season. It's hockey season now. Toronto doesn't care what's going on. Right? They're watching the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
But I want to see what happens. And also, if you don't have anything on Saturday, which is starting the plug for this, setting it up, we are doing our last watch along the season on Patreon. So come hang out with us. I'm sure it'll be fun. And yeah, I mean, and that sets it up to just be there, right? But like, there's a lot of scenarios where there's a lot of pressure on it, and I don't feel any pressure on this game. It's cool if we win. If not, then we move, right?
Yeah. So
but join patreon.com.
Yes.
/scarves and spikes and come hang out with us because after this, and I guess I wasn't planning on doing this, but now it just hit me, so I'm going to do this. So sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. But thank you everyone for coming back every week of the season and watching us. Because I don't know if you'll come back next week after the season's over and be like, I just need a break from that. So we're going to do this now.
Screw these guys.
Thank you. Maybe we'll do it again on Spaces, and then we'll do it again next week too. But thank you to everyone that has endured the entire season with us. We thought it was going to be so great after the home opener and a couple games after that, and it all went downhill. We appreciate you coming back week after week after week, coming in the chat, hanging out with us on Patreon, on the Discord. Join the Patreon. And yeah, I mean, we really appreciate everyone hanging out with us on everything that we do. And there's going to be a lot to talk about. We've said it before. So much stuff's going to be happening in the offseason. Managers, general managers, players. Brad Guzan going to grow hair for maybe one last season. We don't know what's going to happen. We literally don't know what's going to happen, but you'll be with us. So thank you.
Yeah, certainly, again, shout out to our Patreon backers. We definitely appreciate all you do. Shout out to those that watch on YouTube. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. So if you're watching on YouTube, please like, please subscribe. It helps us a lot. We say it all the time. It helps us a lot as we try to grow this thing. And Tommy, you were kind of saying, it's been crappy football this season for most part, but we do appreciate you again coming on alongside the ride for us. And if this is the last one of the year of the regular season, like Tommy said, we'll have a lot to talk about in the off season, so definitely stay with us. scarvesandspikes.com. We're on X, we're on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, whatever. Also Apple Music, Spotify. Thanks for those that subscribe to us on those platforms as well. But Bruno in the chat saying, by the way, I can't wait until Tyler shaves his mustache. That's happening if Atlanta United win MLS Cup. We are saying that right now. Is that a bet you're willing to make? if Atlanta United wins MLS Cup, you'll
Again,
shake
MLS Cup, sure.
Okay.
I'll go bald if that
on record.
happens.
I'll
I'm
go,
sorry, you're really going out there on this bet.
I'll go
doing
bald.
something difficult.
I'll go bald if Atlanta United wins MLS
I'll do what I can.
Cup. I will make that wager right now.
Lord.
Of course, you guys know that is low-hanging fruit for me, but
My wife is.
your wife loves it, I'm sure.
She knows they're not winning. She's smart enough to know that you're safe. Everyone does. One other thing real quick. Thank you to all the writers on scarfsandspikes.com too. We don't bring that up enough on the website. All the great articles that are out there as well. You guys all do a great job. Also, Jonathan, the intern, the unofficial intern. Maybe we'll officially make him the intern on Spaces if he shows up on Saturday. But yeah, thanks to everyone.
Always.
Yeah.
You guys write too, so thank you guys.
Of course.
I read, so if you want to thank me for reading, I
Thanks
read.
for
We
reading.
appreciate you clicking.
A couple clicks a
At least
day.
1 click per article. No, appreciate you all for liking, subscribing, reading, listening, watching, whatever. Definitely means a lot to us. I mean, we're just a few guys who love Atlanta United, and
Most days.
most days.
days.
But
It's a love-hate relationship.
yeah, no, but you guys are the reason we do this mainly. So thanks again. We appreciate you. More to come for sure. Real quick, just to run through it one more time. Atlanta United would need to win on Saturday. 2 of the 3 following scenarios to Montreal to lose at home to NYCFC, DC to lose at home versus Charlotte FC, or a draw. Drop points for Philadelphia at home versus Cincinnati. So 2 of the 3 scenarios need to take place. If that happens, Atlanta are in 9th. If all 3 happen, Atlanta are in 8th. They will host a wild card match at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Tuesday, October 22nd.
That'd be so ridiculous.
And we've
so
already kind of talked about the playoff schedule and what a joke that is. So I won't go into it again, but yeah, that's how it looks for Atlanta United. Plain and simple. They need to win. Montreal needs to lose, or DC needs to lose, or Philly needs to drop points. 2 of the 3 Atlanta are playing at least one more match. Simple as that.
Those are doable.
They
And
are
that's
doable.
the thing. Like,
What's the
this is
least
not-
doable though?
huh?
What's the least doable though?
I'll just say this real quick. I feel like
think
the
the
least
DC game.
doable. Yeah, I was just about to say that. DC
Yeah.
against Charlotte. That could be a 1-0. That could be a draw. Kalina is probably one of the top keepers in the league. I voted for him for keeper of the year for what it's worth, but that could just as easily be a draw. So I say, yeah, echo that, Tyler, and say that's the least likely scenario out of the 3.
But it's not like you're asking something weird, right? Like San Jose to beat Columbus on decision day or something stupid. Like, these are all really, it kind of works out in favor because you have all the teams. And Bruno saying for us to win is at least doable. Absolutely. That's at the end of the day, you have to take care of that.
The least doable.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yes,
Oh,
the least
My
doable.
bad. I was trying.
But no,
No,
goes
Bruno,
back-
don't be the pessimist.
but it goes back, guys, to Atlanta just needs to take care of their business. If these things happen, awesome. If they don't beat Orlando, nothing matters. Just beat
Right.
Orlando and see what happens.
Well,
And again, it's not the most desirable spot, but at least you are playing a meaningful match, I guess.
Yeah, but you have to go out there and handle business. I mean, you don't need to be scoreboard as a player. You don't need to be scoreboard watching Rob, and I know he won't, but Rob doesn't need to be passing on info. They need to have a freaking electronic device embargo at halftime. Just go handle your business. Don't find out anything until the final whistle. Let your heart either be happy or broken after that 90 minutes is over. And
don't be like Greg Berhalter.
no, don't do that.
Copa America.
That was so
Congratulations,
stupid.
1-1.
But that's the thing. You know, you've got this kind of, as our friends over at SDH call it, a knife fight in a phone booth going on for these 8-9 spots. I mean, these are all teams that have been inconsistent all year. And so you really never know what version you're going to get here on decision day. All the teams have something to fight for. I think you're going to see a lot of spiciness, but things aren't out of the question for Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, look at DC. I mean, Charlotte. I was listening to you guys on MLS Mondays, but Charlotte, in my opinion, they have to win. If they have to win, you do not want to face Columbus.
Yep.
You do not want to. You could fake a three. You could fake a 1-game single elimination, but I feel that the best of 3 is the one where like you've got to get the right opponent, because it's hard to fake a best of 3. Because remember when they initially went to the 1 game, the entire playoffs 1 game, you just saw so many of the inferior teams just sitting back, just hoping that they could get to penalties, right? And if I'm Charlotte, I'm starting everybody. I'm making sure that I win so that the Red Bulls don't get the honor of getting to play, just getting to avoid Columbus. I'm sorry, and get to play Cincinnati, because Cincinnati's not the team that they used to be there.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the teams that we want to win are on the road, right? Like that's the scary part, and we know how being on the road works. But yeah, the worst thing that can happen is if everything happens perfectly and you don't get 3 points. That's the worst part. Like that's the stinger for me. That's the only thing that would upset me on decision day, is if Atlanta United is the only part that doesn't take. Once of all 3 of those teams end up not doing it, and they could have hosted that game, and they end up, drawing or losing on a last-second goal. Like that's the only way that this whole situation could upset me here.
Because that's already happened too. That's the thing. Like you had your opportunity to really make a difference and not even be in the same position where you had all these results go your way, and then you just couldn't handle business when you needed to.
Week after week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that exactly. I mean, and I will say, like what Matt said is true. You beat Orlando, it's all you can control. But if you miss the playoffs, you go out and you beat Orlando and Red Bulls. That's at least a silver lining at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Tyler, you and I talked about it with Devon, and we'll play the interview with Devon here in a little bit. But he was talking about, if you do beat Orlando, even if you don't make the playoffs, kind of echoing Matt's point, you at least, and we just said it, have that flicker of, okay, maybe something is there. It's a faint flicker right now, granted, but at least something's there where you can say, this team went out swinging. This team gave itself a slim chance at least to get to this point. And again, even if you lose, do it, or let me backtrack. If you win and none of these things happen, you at least can look back and say, hey, we gave ourselves a shot. So that's all you can hope for. That's all you can hope for. Just win, or if you don't win, unfortunately, give an effort. Give an effort. Like, do it for your fans at least. If you don't do it for each other, do it for your fans.
We've said that so many times.
I know. We have.
We've said it so many times.
Broken record at this point. But
come on, show up the League's Cup. Come on, show up the League's Cup. Come on, Nashville. just show up for Nashville. It's the worst team in the league. And we just keep going through these scenarios over and over. And the part you got to think about this is, this might be the last time we see a lot of these players. A lot. And maybe some unexpected in a 5 Stripes kit, right? Like, that's it. That could be it. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if Brad Guzan's coming back for sure next year. He hasn't said anything. This could possibly be it for him. I think a lot of us are assuming he's going to come back, but, who knows what's going to happen. Brooks Lennon, I didn't really expect Brooks Lennon to, go, but I mean, people talk about it, right? And new management, who knows what ends up happening here. I mean, and that's what everyone's been talking about, is like who's going to be here and who's not. And that's, I just want to see these guys the last time. Your lasting memory of them until February is going to be on Saturday. And man, I don't want to think the entire offseason how I'm just upset at a player.
It really does feel like the end of an era, no matter what, right? Because I feel like despite everything that we know obviously happened in 2020, the end of 2019 still kind of felt like the end of an era because you had so many changes. And then it just really didn't get any better. It got way worse. But you've had, a lot of change. Really, like Brooks Lennon is the main one that's been around. Obviously, Brad. You've had a lot of up and down. But I think no matter what happens in this final match, or if they do make the playoffs, whatever, it does feel like the end of like this kind of past 4 years of mediocrity. Now, of course, to end the mediocrity, you have to go into 2025 and actually not be mediocre.
But I don't think they will.
I don't either. But I just think because you have, like to Tommy's point, so many players that could be gone, likely will be gone, some surprises, like you said, like so many variables. It just feels like the end of an era. And it almost feels like, because there's so many openings, it almost feels like a brand new club starting up again. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute. Last night, just random thought. It just made me think of it because you were talking about the last 4 years. I'm flipping channels. I have no desire to watch the U.S. men's Mexico game at all. Hockey's back. I did not expect, and I'm flipping, and I'm like, does this cough medicine hit me that hard? What is Gonzalo Pineda on TV?
And TNT Sports coverage. Good for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great. But that was not what I was expecting to see on TV. Like, I stopped and saw it, and then I opened Twitter up, and then someone was like, "Is that him?" It was like it was just Santa Claus, right? It's like, is it Santa Claus over there?
Yeah.
No, he was there.
Good for him. I'm so happy for him. I really am.
I mean, it's he's obviously just kind of aside real quick. Wonder if he sticks. I mean, he'll get a job, of course, somewhere, but wonder if he just sticks into punditry in 2025 and maybe latches onto the staff in 26 or something like that. But that's just a quick aside. But good to see him as far as the TNT Sports crew. Even though that table they put in the studio was like came from someone's it came from IKEA or Target or something like that.
That's doing an injustice to IKEA, man.
They have,
that's like your first table when you move out of your parents' house.
Yeah.
And then like you get that little table and you're like, I'm gonna have all my friends over for dinner.
Yeah.
And then like 8 friends come over and they're like, yeah, you could just eat at this table that I got here. But there's not enough room.
To eat 3.
Right.
I feel like Doug drinking like my hot chocolate here. I just want to be like, all right, everybody, we're gonna stop this podcast for a second for a hot chocolate tip.
Coffee break.
I wanted to make sure I could, because you always hear him make the coffee noise. I wanted to make the
I'm glad you had something besides the awkward silence for the 3 seconds it took you to drink.
Oh no, I was gonna do the whole slurping thing.
Right.
Like you got to, if you're gonna go Doug, you go full Doug. Okay,
Yeah.
That's what you do.
We love you, Doug.
We love Doug.
A side note, I'm actually upset with Doug.
Uh-oh.
A couple matches ago at the Benz, DJEU, I think at halftime, had Teach Me How to Dougie blasting. And I asked Doug if he would get up and dance. And he had no idea what he was talking about. He was just like, what? And I kept telling him. Finally, I walked over to him. I was like, this is your song. Go dance. And he was like, and just shook his head and like walked off.
Well, speaking of that, Doug, actually talking about the match before we get into the interview. So Silva, right, practicing on his own, but that he's not playing.
No.
Right?
No reason to.
No
reason to.
Do you think we see him again? I know we'll have this conversation, but we don't have to give a full on answer here. But do you think we see him again?
Maybe.
I think he would be the prime candidate for San Diego.
Okay.
Possibly. Because I don't think we talked about this a little bit last week. I don't think you can not save Brooks Lennon. Because you can go get something for Brooks Lennon. And not to say you can't get something for Shande Silva, but I just think he has something, and it's just not coming out this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of left out to be a potential pick for San Diego.
And Miamba as well wasn't practicing either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I skipped you, Sydney. Do you think he's back?
No, I said maybe.
Oh,
I
okay.
said maybe. I got to
All
toss
right.
in my maybe for Tyler, but yeah, I'm kind of like the same wavelengths. Get yourself a stronger option at his position. I feel like I think that's going to be one of the priorities, one of many for the front office come the off season. So that topic will come up a lot. You know, when we kind of flip the calendars, flip the switch into off season mode. So
Yeah.
one to watch for sure.
All right. So, Tyler, I'm going to set you up to set the interview up here, and then we're going to come back. We're going to do our predictions, and then cross our fingers for 3 days.
And toes.
Yes.
I'm not into feet. Sorry, Sydney.
Really?
You don't know what I like.
I don't know. I don't
I'm not,
know.
though.
Spikes after dark.
No,
hit the button.
no, hang on. We got the interview with Devon. Devon, obviously a good friend of the show. Great football mind, y'all know, and I'll do the introduction obviously in the interview, but just another reminder, patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. Go get on the watch along. Tommy and Sydney will be on there. I will actually be at Enter and Co. I keep wanting to say Exploria. I'll be at Enter and Co Stadium for the game. So I'll drop into the watch along live from the press box or maybe the kitchen, depending on where they put me. I don't know. Because that's kind of what happened last time. But yeah, y'all go join up. It's a fun time. It really is. So, and you also get in the Discord and all the other good stuff. So there's the quick plug. But that being said, here's Devon Kerr.
Roll tape.
Welcome in, everybody. Another Scarves and Spikes, and it is Tyler and Sydney here alongside Devon Kerr, Apple TV and USL Championship. You've been around the block, Devon. You've called some Atlanta games, but it's good to see you, man. How you been?
I'm good, boys. I'm good. We are a far cry from our last interview, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I was in Atlanta for the last interview, right? Yep. Was that the Red Door incident?
I believe so. I believe so, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Man, so never make that mistake again.
Oh, yeah. I got to get back there, dude. No, we haven't. I've been back to Atlanta. I called the Open Cup game.
I was going to say you had the Open Cup game.
Yeah, sorry for that.
I think I remember you at the Benz, I believe was that one.
And the Benz was the NYCFC game.
Yeah, I believe it was NYCFC. So. And then, of course, the Open Cup game up at Kennesaw State a couple months ago.
Yeah. So I've had you guys a couple of times this year, but never at home. C'est la vie. Got to get back there, man. My buddy's got a good spot. We used to work together back in the day. He owns Atlanta Breakfast Club. Like, that is my jam. I love that place. And great city, good memories. And as Tyler knows, that's I think Sydney, you may or may not know that the Red Door, that is or Red Phone Booth, whatever it's called. Right. That is one of my favorite establishments in all of the country. I gotta get back there. Obviously for the flavored water, you know?
Yeah, of course. I've not been, but maybe someday I'll head down there.
Tyler can tell you, no shorts allowed.
Yeah, I can advise you on the dress code for sure.
I do have to ask.
I didn't plan for it. That's the only excuse I've got.
Real quick, though, I got to ask you real quick. I know Mike Watts isn't calling this game your USL partner, but Nick Bacady. I know you and Mike, every USL match, try to sneak some words in to your broadcast. Have you and Nate ever done that for MLS matches, or?
No, Nate and I have never done that. Actually, I got to give Watts credit before we go any further. So the word sneak was actually his thing. He started it in 2017. He actually pulled it from a different Fordham of Love, and Fordham is renowned for their broadcasting for sure. And he pulled it from a different Fordham alum. I can't remember who, to be honest. He did it in 17. We did a couple of random games together. And in 18, when I became the lead for USL, he was like, "You want to get in on this?" And, we'll do as little as 10 words. And then kind of the viral thing that everybody caught wind of was when we went nuts with all the Taylor Swift songs and albums in an Open Cup game, which I think, A, speaks to the testament of quality of word usage within a game. B, also probably speaks to the quality of the game or lack thereof, all due respect. And probably, and I have no problem admitting this, probably a bit of unprofessionalism on our end, that maybe we were a little bit wrong and shouldn't have done that. But at the end of the day, it was all good fun. We were trying to entertain the fans, get some stuff in. I don't know. Maybe I could slip Nate a couple of words for the game this weekend. You guys got any suggestions?
Not off the top of my head. I don't know if Tyler has anything.
I can certainly come up with a few.
Red phone booth.
Hey,
Sure.
you can slip in the red phone booth. I don't know how.
No shorts allowed.
Yeah, no shorts allowed would be perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
How about Ray
Never
Hudson's favorite word, magisterial?
Oh, magisterial.
Magisterial.
No, that's his thing, dude. That's his. It's funny. I can remember listening to him in like the mid to late 2000s, and I remember like him calling Barca games for being and stuff, which still does, obviously. But hearing him talking, I was just like, "Dear Lord, like, what does that word even mean?" Nobody knows what it means.
Just bust out the dictionary.
Yeah,
in the middle of the broadcast.
For sure.
I'm gonna keep thinking on the word thing. Now I'll come up with something, but
more than one. Five. We need at least 10. That's a good Twitter thing. That's a good Twitter thing, man. Like contacting all the followers and hitting up Five Stripes fans and like, hey, ATL, let's go. What words are we using? And I will politely get in as many as possible, testing the limits while also making sure that the paycheck is going to come again in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Don't do anything that's going to jeopardize, job or paycheck.
For sure.
We'll give you at least some ideas you can work with.
Right.
Yeah, super kind. Thank you. Guidance, right? They're more like guidelines.
They're more like guidelines anyway. All right. So, you've had Atlanta a little bit. The Open Cup game, I think, was just, we can say what it is. Thankfully, Tommy's not on here because just us mentioning that Open Cup game and he would lose his mind.
Yeah.
But just 2024 Atlanta United, what are your overall kind of thoughts about how this team has gone up and down this season?
Bipolar.
You can be honest.
Bipolar. Bipolar is the first word that comes to mind. There's so many different identities within each individual player and within the collective overall that you never really know what you're going to get. I have witnessed this team struggle through some really ugly wins. Speaking of Open Cup, the Charleston Battery, penalty kicks or not, you advanced.
Yeah.
I have witnessed good, steady, I would call it, performances overall. Referencing most recently the Charlotte game in Charlotte, where you guys just thought you did really, really well. And then other games where the team played well, didn't get enough out of it, didn't play well, got something out of it. Again, just so many different identities within the group. And then the group changing overall, right? I think anybody that looks at Atlanta United in 2024 is probably going to view it with an asterisk, considering players lost, right? And the ups and downs that have been, certainly, it's Gigi, it's Almada, Caleb Wiley, of course, Derek Etienne Jr., like the list goes on and on and on. And bringing Garth in, who's got the Midas touch and a massive offseason for this team. Looking back, I think it's very difficult to put into words exactly what it is, but that's kind of where my head is at. You get a lot of different looks, a lot of different angles. There's certainly talent there, but even heading to this game against Orlando, I'm not exactly sure who I'm going to see.
Yeah, and one of the players that, I'm sure is going to be brought up numerous times on Saturday is, of course, Alexei Miranchuk, who is not the like-for-like replacement for Thiago Almada, but he's going to be at that number 10 spot for Atlanta, of course, and he's going to be one of those players in 2025 that he's going to be under intense scrutiny as we see this Atlanta United, this new era come in with a new head coach, a new technical director, and he'll obviously be a part of it. From what you've seen of him this year, what are your thoughts in the relatively small sample size that we've seen of him in 2024?
Well, I would say defensively better than Thiago Almada, for sure. I think there's a lot more flexibility within the player to allow you formationally to change, and you've seen that. I'm saying you've seen it under Rob Valentino. I don't know how much of that is him. I'm not saying it's not him, but who knows what sort of direction was being given to him by Bocanegra and by Garth and by the rest of the coaching staff on, to be fair, just the ability to try things while still playoff relevant. respectfully, it's not exactly like this team is lighting anything up. And with the fixture congestion coming off international break, this would be an astronomical ask for this team to go on any sort of run. Stranger things have happened for sure, and anything's possible in the footballing world. But I think they've toyed with their identity down the stretch here, and certainly with the addition of Miranchuk. There's no doubt in the mind that obviously he plays in the 10 and plays with his back to goal. Better in combination, not as good forward-facing in transitional moments. I think actually his flexibility on either wing is a little bit better. We all know that Thiago Almada wanted to operate on the left and find those pockets and drop down in and all that good stuff, but utilizing him on the right side wasn't something that this organization really utilized on a frequent basis. Now, that also comes down to personnel, right? Like, how much can you invert Saba? How high can you get him? Can you get Brooks Lennon involved? There's a lot of different personalities within the identity of this team that, as those guys have departed, not only have they lost their identity, but the team itself. And so now it's just kind of slowly coming back into things of what could be for 2025. There's no doubt in my mind that Miranchuk is the type of player that could be a catalyst for success.
Yeah.
I don't see him as an MVP type player. I see him certainly pushing something like a 10 and 10, right? Like 10 goals, 10 assists, which I think for that position within that group is very, very fair. Obviously, at least to me, the biggest question is going to be who's in front of him in the 9 spot, right? Yes, you need help on the wings. There needs to be help all over, but the 9 spot is going to be the real question for everything that will unlock more space and opportunities for him. But if you think about the fact that he's got 3 goals and an assist in 8 appearances so far this year, he's basically marking in 50% of the time. And respectfully, there's no one around him in terms of top quality like you saw depart the club, nor in overall form right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then I guess to kind of piggyback on that question itself, if you put on your Garth Lagerwey hat or your football manager hat for a minute, this team has so many possibilities in the offseason. You've got technical director, you've got probably a head coach, you have 2 DP spots, and then likely U22 spots. What is your, if you're Garth, what is your kind of order of operations as the season comes to a close? Like, who do you start with, or what do you start with?
Well, I would also say, don't forget that you've got an upcoming expansion draft that you're going to have to figure out exactly who you want to bring underneath your wing. There's certainly the question at the goalkeeping position, which to me is, I think that's a massive question. Yep. And that was a big question coming into the year with Bragazan, right? And I personally feel that he performed better this season than last year. I don't know how much is left in the tank in terms of the highest level. I'm terrible at math, so we're going to do this quickly as I look at my board over here on the right-hand side. Okay, great. Just to make myself feel even worse. Brad and I are born in the same year. Awesome.
Me too.
I've been done for 15 years and can barely feel my left knee, and literally came from an MRI earlier today. But neither here nor there. Goalkeepers get finer with age. Everybody says that it's like a fine wine. Certainly, it has to be in the cab or cab trunk department the way that he's aged. I don't know if that's the number one vision overall. I don't know the specifics of his exact contract of, what the financial terms are, if an added year comes on, if there's a no trade clause, if there's a protection added to it. Like, these are a lot of things that I'm not privy to. I don't think anybody's privy to be fair. You kind of get an idea of salary, where he falls in terms of roster numbers, and that's about it. Goalkeeper is a big one for me. I like Pedro Amador, and again, apologize for my eyes as I just look in terms of overall starters. Center back is good in terms of starters. You're going to have a question there in terms of depth. What is their decision on Brooks Lennon, who, if I'm not mistaken, is coming out of contract as well?
He
has an option.
An option, I believe.
He has an option. Sorry. So, that's the type of player when I talk about protection, it wouldn't surprise me if another team tries and goes and gets him, right? If you go and get him, and I've seen the chats from Atlanta United fans, and I recognize the fact that maybe in terms of the overall performances of what he's brought to the field this year hasn't been up to snuff. I think you have to take in all the variables around him. I still believe that Brooks Lennon is no doubt in my mind a quality starting back within this league and has the ability to push that threshold. Midfield, there's tons of options. Wings, there's options, can add depth there as well. Got to get healthy. And then the 9 spot. I would say that you have to start at the 9 and you have to start at the goalkeeper. But even before that, that's personnel. Even before that, this club has lacked vision overall within the hierarchy for quite some time now. So Garth Lagerwey, better than anyone, both at RSL and both at the Seattle Sounders, has taken a blueprint and gone, okay, this is what worked at this club. This is what's going to work at this club, and then translated to his next. And you're hoping that's exactly what goes on with Atlanta United. So I guess, I know that's a long-winded answer. I apologize. There's just so many moving pieces within this group overall. He's got to find out who's going to lead the team next to him, both on and off the field, because that is going to steer this entire vision. The rest of that will start to fall into place. I have no issues whatsoever in terms of roster availability. I sure as hell don't give any craps whatsoever, pardon the verbiage, about what sort of financials are available because of the amount of money that came into the club and because of the historical value that this club has brought to this league, saying, we'll go and spend money and we'll get players to make this win. We did it right out the gate, and this is a rebuild. So who's going to be next to him? I don't know who's going to be next to him is the problem. I hear a lot of rumors, and I'm sure you guys hear the same ones, but it's certainly got to be who's going to be in the technical area and who's going to be pulling the strings from behind the scenes in order to go and chase all of those players.
So let me ask you this, though, and we'll kind of switch gears to Orlando and what they're looking at on Saturday in the minute, but kind of taking off that last point, of course, the name that's being thrown around is Chris Henderson, and he and Garth Lagerwey have had a very strong working relationship. So I guess today, as we're talking, what kind of name makes most sense to you as potential, not just a potential technical director / GM, but a head coach for Atlanta?
Very loaded question. I would say that two very different answers. Number one, I kind of see the vision of this club in terms of the technical director being American-based. That's just my viewpoint. I feel like the rhythm that Garth has, what his relationships historically within the soccer community and that person would bring to this table would benefit the club more compared to a high-priced, high-commodity name going outside of the country who doesn't have experience with the league. That's not to say that they're not going to go do that. I just feel that that's probably the best direction to go. Is it a Chris Henderson? You know what? I said this for Chris Henderson towards the summer of last year, prior to the acquisition of Messi, and that the work that they had done, given the sanctions and all the BS that had gone on because of roster restrictions, I thought he could have been considered as one of the executives of the year then. No doubt in my mind that that's obviously a conversation both last year and this year, right?
Yep.
If you look within that organization, they've sort of moved everyone from the previous regime out. So I don't know where he ends up, number one. If it's Atlanta, do I think it could be a good partnership? Absolutely. As far as the head coach, and I really like Rob Valentino. I do. I think he's a great person. I think he's a good footballing mind. I think this project overall is probably a bit too early for him in his coaching career as a head coach.
Agreed.
That doesn't necessarily mean like long term that he's not capable of it, but I would definitely then contradict my statements, and I would probably go outside of this country to get a name. I'm not saying that you have to go world beater. I know Vieira is a name that's being thrown around quite heavily. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. To a lot of people, that's a good get. He's had success in the league before with NYCFC, so that's not a difficult one. I think that team needs some hard-nosed love. They need some people that's going to get in the face and tell them how it is. And respectfully, I don't think the players have had that in quite some time, certainly not from the level of coach that they would then respect. And that's not necessarily their fault because circumstances dictated otherwise. It was, okay, this coach was fired and then it's the next one. Or, we think this could be a good fit, but Frank de Boer, that didn't have enough success coming in. If this guy didn't work somewhere else, why am I going to now change everything and work for him? When I became ingrained, in my view, into Atlanta United, it was part of the 2019 run to the Open Cup title. And I had an idea of what the Five Stripes were and the way that you guys played and what the club was all about. I had a whole new understanding and respect for once I got inside of it. And within that is an idea that no matter what, there's going to be trust, there's going to be work ethic, and there's going to be success. And again, respectfully, I don't think at every level we've seen that for quite some time with the club. So I would probably go outside of this country in order to get someone that's a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more hard-nosed, but obviously making sure that the most important thing comes back to the opening comments, that it fits within the conversation of Garth Lagerwey and whoever is running mate in the front office. Running mate is in the front office.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I mean, that's a very similar conversation to what we've had. I mean, you have to balance the MLS knowledge and what somebody that's been in this league for a minute can understand, because it is different. You know, like the rules are not normal. They're not something that you get outside of this league. And so a head coach needs to understand it. Technical director has to know it, and they have to know it like their own family, because that's
do we bring in an Englishman like this shirt?
Exactly. Perfect drop. But not for Atlanta to blow a 13 colony lead. No.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's the thing. You know, I think there has to be, and Atlanta can pay the money, to your point earlier. Atlanta can pay the money to go and find somebody that kind of checks all the boxes as long as that person's available. And, you know, I agree. Love Rob to death. I really do. He got handed a crap sandwich, really.
I think you're being polite there, but sure.
I know. I'm trying.
Kids are listening.
It was a very, very tough ask. And I do. He can be the hard-nosed guy. You listen to him in press conferences. We talk to him after games. Like he lets his players know when he's not happy, and that's a good thing. Yeah. But the other side of that is, unfortunately, he just doesn't have the actual head coaching experience that I think is really going to make you successful with the group of players that are there right now. So,
and to be clear, just to step in for a second, while I'm not comparing the person nor the tactical knowledge in this situation, there are similarities to the experience around him for Rob Valentino and, to me, Pat Noonan. And the reason I bring that up is you take a look at Pat Noonan, Philadelphia Union, the background, obviously the playing experience, but the background and all of the great people around him that allowed him to go to a club. Having Chris Albright, one of your buddies, certainly doesn't hurt either, right?
Yep.
But allowing you to go to a club where, let's just say it, there were no expectations, right? That's great. You had this shiny penny that quickly became as tarnished as possible, and not the kind of issue that where you scrub it off and it's value again, or maybe that patina even adds more value. It was terrible in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying Rob needs to go to a terrible club. I'm saying that looks like an opportunity for me, for Rob Valentino to stay on the staff, to learn from someone, gain even more experience, start to broaden his mind even more. Because I think that person's going to, knowing that he's been in the spot for the Five Stripes, especially a European manager, and the workflow over there, I think they would lean on him even more in a first-team position. So that emphasis, more responsibility, continued forth, gained experience, that ends up in a club where he can walk in and it's not win now, win an MLS Cup immediately. Because let's be very, very clear, that precedent was set so early on, and I don't blame you guys, but now every single year, Five Stripes fans think they should be hoisting the cup.
No, 100%.
Yeah. And, you know, I think I would much rather have that kind of fan base, obviously, than like one that doesn't care.
For sure.
It is
that soft stuff running around. Like I always say this, whether it's USL, MLS, even some of the nutties and hooligans in the best of ways running around the college sector, which there are some, don't be shocked. They're there. I would much rather have people that gave a you-know-what, and maybe in certain areas let emotion trump knowledge than people that didn't care whatsoever at all about their team. Like, bring your emotion, I'm here for, because although it may be misguided because you're not educated enough about the situation, you care.
Yep.
And that ability to bring heart over situation, heart will trump that a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
A lot of eyes will be on Atlanta this offseason. It's going to be really intriguing to see what they do, not just with head coach and GM, but with player acquisition as well. So kind of shifting back to Saturday, talking about Orlando and Orlando, of course, playing for a top 4 spot with a win on Saturday against Atlanta. Talk about Facu Torres. We talk about McGuire and the mess with him going to Europe, not going to Europe and all that, but he's stuck around. He's done pretty well. Angulo, they have a lot of talent on that team. They've been in terrific form. So just take me through what you're looking for from them and what are some ways that Atlanta United can beat them on Saturday?
You certainly have to use their aggression against them. And what I mean by that is, the ability for your team to transition with numbers, outside backs, certainly Brooks Lennon. I know it's easy for people to lean on that, but his speed is everything. And especially on the left-hand side, he'll be matched up against Ivan Angulo. And Angulo is an interesting case study for MLS because statistically, if you go and look at his numbers in terms of duels, entries into the final third, progressive carries, pressure. It's like pressures 30 yards and in, or pressures after immediate passes, one of those two. You're looking at a guy in terms of wingers, it's like one of the top 25 in the league. And the guy statistically is incredible. The problem is 20 yards and in, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. And that's either one of his trailing mates or hitting the goal himself. But he does open up a lot of space. And actually his versatility on both wings towards the tail end of the 2023 season is exactly why this team took down the Columbus Crew in the final, I think it was 7 games of the year. It's also why the team finished second overall in the Supporters' Shield race. Now, while I don't necessarily think the overall quality of what we saw out of Orlando last year is the current form that we're seeing this year, I do think they're trending that way. So the left wing for Orlando City, the right wing of Facu Torres, the way he inverts, it puts a lot of pressure centrally within the midfield. The shape for Atlanta United has changed a lot within the midfield. I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. I think it's a good thing in the sense that guys are finding success within different schemes going forward. I think defensively, the team has really struggled with coverage in front of the back four, and I think the back four has suffered within that as well. And this is, with personnel overload in terms of numbers, one of the best teams right now in MLS in that conversation. They quickly get 4 guys going 100 miles an hour. And then if it breaks down, really good on cutbacks, still finding distribution into the box. They're top 5 in that category in the league. They always seem to find a way to whip something in and then pick up the secondary ball. It is a team that is a little bit light at the outside back area. I think the question is going to be as to whether or not Dagerdan Thorhalson at right back is going to be able to have a go. He's been injured. They've been a little bit weird about the information coming out about his availability over the past couple of weeks. Rafa Santos, though defensively has gotten a lot better, he's still a liability for me, and specifically with quick balls up over the top. And then you get the 2 center backs. Schlegel has gotten better on the right side. Robin Janssen is very, very good. I don't want to go anywhere near the 2 midfielders because I think Cesar Araujo and Wilder Cartagena, at their best, what they're approaching it right now, are one of the best midfield pairings in all of the league. I put him prior to his departure, and certainly towards the end of last year, I put him right there in the conversation with like an Aiden Morris and Darlington Nagbe and that type of idea. Certainly different in profile. So, the width is a real key area that you got to be able to take advantage of, defensively absorbing pressure, quickly transitioning the other way. This team historically, as over this run, and they did the same thing last year, they don't sit and absorb. They don't. They don't have it in their DNA. It's that mid-block. They'll come low when necessary, but that puts a lot of pressure on outside and you guys in transitional moments.
Real quick, how far do they get in the playoffs, Orlando?
That's a really good question. I would say number 1, I do think the matchup matters. And I actually like the matchup for them better against NYCFC, Orlando being the home team, compared to a Charlotte squad. Now, that obviously means that Atlanta have to win their game against you guys. Let's assume that happens, all due respect. And Atlanta finishes 4th. And then Charlotte wins their game and NYCFC loses. Well, then Charlotte jumps into the 4. I like that better. I just think the game's more wide open. Charlotte's a better defensive team. And I think Charlotte's style translates home and away better than NYCFC does, considering the field that NYCFC gets the advantage to play on, whether in the 4 seed or 5 seed. I do look at Orlando outside of that first game, ironically enough. I think they're a team that could make a run. I do. It's Miami, Columbus, and Orlando for me. I really like FC Cincinnati. I just don't think they're in form right now. The quality is not a question whatsoever, but TQL is not the fortress that it was over the past season and a half. Right. And even though they're sitting at the 3 spot, I wouldn't be shocked if they somehow got knocked off. That's going to bode well for an Orlando team. Yeah. So you could put Orlando, for me, probably tied as the second best option coming out of the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference final, maybe they win it all. Meaning the East. The East.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. A lot of this has to do with who's hot at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter what you did the rest of the season. It really matters like what you do going into the playoffs. And Orlando's in that kind of situation, similar to last year, because they were, I think, statistically and points wise, they were the best team in the league coming out of Leagues Cup last year. They've set themselves up really well. And I think for this matchup, what intrigues me the most is I think Atlanta has found a little bit of success in kind of leaning a little bit more into their defense and hitting on transitions when they can, because when they do it right, it's a thing of beauty, but they just haven't mastered it. But the problem with that is you have to go win this game. You can't sit in and you know, put up a bus for too long, because you have to go score some goals. And it's going to be interesting to see how Rob kind of approaches this, where he's got to win the game, but he also has a win against the clock.
I would also say that you do have the benefit of just focusing on what's in front of you, because I know you need some help around you as well. But like, to me, that's one of the biggest things that I dislike the most about social media in this day and age is the white noise that it creates. Now, we could go to the umpteenths of the world in the rabbit hole that is on that comment, but I just think that as a player right now, it reminds me, because of all of the different scenarios and how unique they are for an Atlanta United team, it reminds me of being a youth player and being in a tournament. Like, you know, we lost our first game and drew our second, and we're in a must win, but someone else has to win. And then maybe we can get in as a best third or whatever the heck it was. Whereas, like, I can remember my coach sitting me down being like, just go win this game. Like, who cares about all that other crap? Just go win the game. Because if you don't do that, nothing else matters, right? No one's going to feel bad for you if you guys lose this game. They might, not that it helps, but they might go, you know what? That team at the end, they started to have a decent amount of identity. To your point, Tyler, I agree with you on the defensive front. I think it's a little bit more intermittent than the coaching staff would like on the back line. But yeah, I would agree with you defensively, but like, just go out and win the game, because people will turn around and go, hey, they started to figure some things out. There was a little bit of momentum. Here's an understanding of the roster changes. Oh, that's why they kept this player. Here's what they're going to bring in at the DP. Now the technical director knows what they want. Garth Lagerwey talked about this. We saw this in the final 10 games. Like, this one game isn't going to make or break that, but it certainly can't hurt, right?
Yeah.
Right. And who wants to do math on decision day anyway?
Right.
I don't add well in general. That's not true. I don't add well on the fly on air. You know what? One of the biggest, this is the running joke with all my broadcast partners, not that I have a ton, but is to stay up to date on everybody's birthdays. I put the actual birthday. Because like, Tyler, if you're playing pro, right, and you're on Atlanta, if you're born in July and I write down 31, if your birthday's mid-season, I have to go back every single game and look and see when your birthday is. I'm not doing that crap. So I leave it as the birthday. And then I get myself into trouble because I get on air and it's like Brad Guzan, right? I'm looking and I'm like, okay, carry the 84. That's my same year, but it's September. What month are we in? Blah, blah, blah. 29. No, 30. 40.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually got in trouble last year on an Orlando game. Not in trouble, but they gave me a hard time because Wilder Cartagena scored a goal. It was legit like game like 30 or something. And he scored this screamer like running through the box and boom into the bottom corner. And I did math quick on the fly. And I was like, oh, the 19-year-old from Peru. 29 years old. He's a man. He had a beard.
That decade will get you, man.
It's a whole decade of just forgetfulness for me. So, yeah, numbers don't do well. But Look, I mean, I think in terms of the matchup overall, there's belief. And out of all due respect to Orlando, their crowd is not exactly turning out massive, massive quantities of support. You know, I was actually a little bit shocked. Wednesday game going back about 2.5 weeks. I can't remember off the top of my head who I had. I apologize. I'm in the middle of MLS, USL, and NCAA season.
I get it. I'm not asking you to do any of that. Or
yeah,
math.
but I remember the support was actually quite better than I thought it would be. Philly game. There we go. Better than I thought it would be. But over the course of the year, it hasn't been great. I think that could benefit Atlanta United. You know, I think a quick start for sure. This is a team that everybody forgets as good a form as they're in right now. And certainly shades of what we saw in 2023. This is a team where rumors were circulating earlier this season, given their slow start of maybe Oscar Pareja and his departure, that things were good enough. Yeah. There was the debacle at the striker position. Yep. There was the lackluster performances within the midfield that I referenced. Pedro Galese, El Pupo in goal was absolutely terrible.
Yep.
Now, we're a far cry from that.
Yeah.
But those memories, I promise you, being a player in those guys' shoes before, it's not that far of a stretch for something to go wrong, especially early and consistent in 15 or 20 minutes. And as a player, you're looking around going, oh, no, we're back in April. Are we ever going to be able to get out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a psychological thing. And
yeah.
It'll be curious to see kind of how it all plays out. But Devon, I know you got a roll. You got some little ones to attend to. So we appreciate you coming on, man, taking the time as usual. And I will see you on Saturday.
Give me a shout. Shoot me a text. I'm not upset that everybody's not showing up. That's okay. By the way, feel free to start a GoFundMe for any babysitting duties at my house. I would love to actually come and enjoy a game in Atlanta, maybe share an adult water with you guys, but I'm going to need childcare coverage in order to do so. So maybe we could liaise off here and help each other out.
Hey, let us know when you're in town next. Sure. We'll make it happen.
Will do, boys. Appreciate you guys having me. Good luck.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good call on Saturday.
Cheers.
Great chat with Devon Kerr from MLS Season Pass. We'll be on the call, as we saw with Nate Bacady on Saturday from Inter and Co Stadium. What is that bobblehead you have, by the way, Tyler? You're muted.
You're on mute. Is that Bilbo Baggins?
Bilbo Baggins. Okay.
It is Bilbo Baggins indeed. It is Bilbo Baggins. Sorry, just in the mood. We started watching the second season of the Rings of Power. So I felt
nice.
Like Mr. Baggins into the chat.
Love it. Just real quick, we want to hit on Orlando. We forgot to mention earlier, if they win, they'll clinch a top 4 spot, or if NYCFC drop points at Montreal, or if Orlando draw, Atlanta and Orlando are able to take a tiebreaker over NYCFC. Right now, the first tiebreaker is wins, of course. Orlando have 15 to NYCFC's 14, so it would come down to the goal differential. And Orlando are up 10-7 in goal differential over NYCFC. So those scenarios will get them the top 4 spot and home field advantage through at least the first round of the MLS Cup playoffs. So a little supplement to what we said earlier. But good conversation with Devon. Great guy. He was on with us last year. Good to catch up. And again, he'll be on the call Saturday for MLS Season Pass. But definitely tweet us at Scarves, the letter N Spikes, and tag Devon to Devon Kerr 9 on X. Let him know what words he and Nate should sneak in on the broadcast on Saturday on MLS Season Pass.
Because if you don't know Devon, he'll do it. The game that he was referring to in that interview, I think it was Central Valley Fuego, possibly. It was a bunch of California teams, and they went through like every Taylor Swift song in this match and snuck it. I mean, and they did it well, I will say. And I know he mentioned like, oh, some people might think it's unprofessional, whatever. Like, you got to have fun with that kind of stuff. Like, you should be having fun. And if we're getting into that conversation, which we're not, but the Open Cup, they need that kind of stuff. The Open Cup needs the help. All right. And if it's just that extra little bit of fun that you get from a couple of guys messing around and throwing in Taylor Swift songs into their conversation, I'll take it all day.
So real quick, that was Orlando Pride versus San Diego Wave in the NWSL. Mike Watts, Devon Kerr's USL broadcast partner, was on that call. So, but
that's amazing.
We'll see. Maybe tweet out a few if you're watching or listening, and you may get to them.
For sure.
See if you can do some Blink-182 songs, an entire.
Hey, you just got to give him some ideas. He said, give him at least 10.
Year.
He'll sneak some in.
Next year.
Let me throw this out there real quick too, before we move on. So one of the supporters groups had a pretty significant and sad loss over the past few days. Some of y'all may know this young man, some of y'all may not. He was a capo for Footy Mob, named affectionately Macaroni Tony.
What a great name.
Yeah.
He passed away due to just senseless violence, senseless, anything in Atlanta. And it's just one of those things where, prayers, thoughts to his family, and of course, like the whole supporters group family as well, because, these people, as we all know, they become another family for you. And it's unnecessary, which is what makes it so frustrating. It's hard enough when it's like a sickness or something, but when it's something just absolutely unnecessary, it just makes it that much worse. And they did not ask us to do this at all. I'm just throwing this out there. But if you guys just feel it that you need to or want to go and help out the family, I'll put it in the chat. But footymob.com/store, they've got some stuff that they're doing where all the proceeds go to his family. So
yeah,
just to go help out. Some things are bigger than soccer, but come together from soccer, and this is one of those things. So
absolutely. And just terrible to hear that. Yeah, anytime a member of the Larger Atlanta United community, that happens, it definitely hurts, no matter which supporters group you're part of. So definitely thoughts, prayers to the family of Tony during this time. And go to the Footy Mob store, footymob.com/store, if you are compelled to, and get some merchandise. I see stickers for him, posters, shirts, or you just want to make a cash donation. They have that ability as well. So footymob.com/store if you want to do that.
I've seen some videos, with some friends on Facebook, and they've posted some videos of him, and seemed like a great guy.
Yeah.
Fun guy.
Yeah. I ran into him once or twice in the times that I've gone to like the tailgates, and he probably doesn't remember me, but it's just one of those things where, he just seemed like a good guy, seemed like a fun guy. And I know he's very well respected in the overall community. So, again, prayers for him, his family, everything. And what else can you say? But the link is there.
Yep.
So not to make the mood somber, but we try to get everything out there. Like when it comes to Atlanta United, we want everybody to be aware of what's going on. And, you have your circles and you have your cliques, and that's totally fine. That's great. You might not know what happened. And, sometimes, unfortunately, news can be bad as much as it can be good. And we want to just make aware to everybody for his family's sake. This is an opportunity, for, again, like Sydney said, if you feel compelled to go, give them something, that's totally fine. If not, that's totally fine too. But keep them in your thoughts and prayers for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Well, it's time for the last regular season prediction. We stopped counting, so this one is worth 60,000 points.
Like, whose line is it anyway?
Points don't matter.
I'm sorry, just in case, because I know Tyler's gotten a lot wrong. It's 60,001 points, so you can get the lead if you get it right.
Excellent. That Miami game saved me, where I got it spot on. Kept me in the running.
Exactly. So, what are your predictions for Saturday? 6 p.m. start, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 6 p.m. start from Inter and Co Stadium in Miami. Gosh, Orlando.
It should be, right? Like,
Potato, potato.
it's so stupid.
Yeah, or you mentioned the Miami match that threw me off. But no, 6 o'clock start along with all the other matches in the Eastern Conference and then the West, starting at 9 Eastern time. So decision day. And like I said at the top, I feel strangely optimistic, but I'm not going in with a lot of expectations about this match. So, with that said, and again, keeping in mind that Orlando are in form, they've won 6 of 9, 7 of 9. I forget the exact number at this time, but they're very much in form. And again, like I said, dark horse to come out of the East, taking into account the run that they've been on in recent weeks. With all that in mind, Atlanta need to come out, I think, and be the aggressor from the jump. That first goal is going to be so important because if Orlando get that first goal, two things are going to have to happen. A, Atlanta are going to have to chase the match right out of the bat. And one goal does them no good if they go down 1-0. They'll need 2 goals. So getting that first goal is so important. Even if you concede and it becomes 1-1, you at least know that, hey, we just need one more to win the match potentially. So that first goal is absolutely critical for Atlanta United on Saturday against Orlando City. I don't think it will be a particularly high scoring game per se. That's to take nothing away from the attacking power that Orlando have. I'm well aware of that. I just don't feel that it'll be high attacking because Atlanta, if they jump out in front, right, they're gonna want to slow the pace down and maybe put numbers behind the ball to keep Orlando from equalizing. So with that in mind, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 1-0 to Atlanta United. I think Atlanta United will win 1-0. I think they score in the first half, relatively late in the first half, and then that'll allow them to go much more defensive throughout the remainder of the match to leave with 3 points and hopefully get one of those scenarios to fall in their favor. So 1-0 Atlanta. I think Saba will score. Saba Lobjanitsa will score for Atlanta United against Orlando City. I think Brad Guzan will keep a clean sheet in his defense. So that's where I stand. What do you guys think? Anybody?
I think that is the most reasonable possibility because I think it is in the realm of possibility. Like, I really do. I think you sneak one in and then you fight like hell to keep the clean sheet because you have to.
Yeah.
I do think that is definitely reasonable. I'm going to say 2-1 Atlanta because I just don't know that they can keep the clean sheet. But when you're playing for pride, when you're playing for hopefully the badge, you're playing for hopefully your fans, you're playing for hopefully a job next year in some cases, like there's so many things that you can draw inspiration and motivation from. This is the game that you have to do it because it doesn't matter what else happens. You have to go win this game. So I think they end up in a situation where it's gonna give some Atlanta fans some heart problems for sure. But I think they pull it out in the end, and I think it's gonna be Saba, and I think it's gonna be Alexei Miranchuk with the game winner. And I'm gonna say it's gonna be in like the 85th minute, and that'll be the game winner. They're gonna
Penalty
hold
or open play?
no open play. It's got to be open play. It needs to be a dime off the left foot. And I think it ends 2-1 Atlanta. But I really, the biggest thing for me is go out there and just let them have it, man. Take the game to Orlando. Leave a little bit of frustration in their field for next year and show your fans that they have a glimmer of something to grab onto over the offseason as this team goes through a rebuild. Go take it to Orlando and give them something to think about.
Well, Orlando at home is 7-5-4. Atlanta away record is 3 wins, 642 losses, and 2 draws.
Get out of here with your math.
That's what it feels like over the past few years. I don't feel good about this game at all. At all about it. That situation I said earlier, everyone's going to get it done, and Atlanta's not going to. However, Atlanta wins 3-0.
Oh my gosh.
Atlanta wins 3-0. Give us some hope. Give us some hope. Let's see what happens to next year. And then let's see what.
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
Just won, like, how much money did you just win?
Well, a 5-leg parlay, right?
Showing your business out there.
Yeah. I got a free birthday bet from the Hard Rock.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Happy belated.
42 has not been kind so far, but we'll get there. Just working on 43 in about 300 and some days. But I woke up in the morning and I picked 5 random teams. One of them was the Falcons, which was whenever you bet on the Falcons, it never happens. But I won $2,500 off of a free bet.
Riverboat Tommy here.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. So I haven't told the kids yet, but I'm putting the money aside, and we're going to come out for the home opener next season. It's part of my plan of what I'm going to do with that money is take the whole family out to the home opener next year.
Good man.
That's awesome. So now you'll have something to look forward to in the off season.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
You got to be able to look forward to something here. But no, I got to root for this, and it'd be cool to embarrass Orlando in front of their fans here, because
and also keep them from getting home field advantage.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but they're going to be, how Orlando fans are, and I'm about to go hop on Battered MLS here in about 45 minutes, and there's going to be an Orlando fan on there, and he seems nice, but you know how some of those Orlando fans are. They're going to be tweeting nonstop. Trust me, because I've been fighting Ohio State fans for about a good week now. Go Ducks! And I can't handle for the entire offseason that they eliminated Atlanta United, because Orlando fans, if you're watching this, you did not. If you end up beating us and we're out, you didn't eliminate Atlanta. Atlanta eliminated Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't give yourself credit for any of this. This was all on Atlanta. You just happened to be the last game.
And it's true. It's totally true. Like,
no lies detected.
We could have had this conversation over with and done and dusted 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. You just beat Nashville.
Right.
Yeah.
You just had a couple things you had to do and you haven't done it yet. But hey, whatever. Leave it late. Make it dramatic.
Exactly.
Think of the moment in your mind. Likely won't happen, but just believe for a second. If they somehow sneak into the playoffs and then they go on a run and they freaking win the cup, could you freaking imagine Twitter? Like, I don't know what we would do.
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't have a mustache.
Yeah, absolutely right. I don't know that I
you wouldn't have a mustache, and I'd be bald
for a week.
There's nothing wrong with dreaming, guys. I'll just say that. Nothing wrong with dreaming.
Nothing wrong with dreaming, man.
It would be whatever team ends up playing Miami, they're going on the grand stage, right? I mean, this is the run for Miami. They didn't make the playoffs last year, right? This is the playoff run for the Messi fans that have been paying, across the world, right? Those are going to be the biggest watch games, right? Absolutely, 100%. Everyone's going to be watching those 3 games. So whoever has the honor of playing Miami there, they're going to be on the world stage for sure throughout the entire playoffs here.
Yeah.
And Atlanta likes to play Miami recently since Leagues Cup 2023.
Maybe that's further motivation to win on Saturday.
Did you see the video? And I kind of just skimmed through it real quick before we hopped on about a few of the Atlanta United players that I think went to the cancer center or a children's hospital. I think it was the children's hospital.
I haven't got a chance to watch that one yet.
But yeah, there's a kid there, and I think it was Dax, and it was like, yeah, we haven't lost against Messi. Like, he's telling this kid this. He's like, we beat them and we drew them.
Well,
not wrong.
To get to Messi again, you have to be in Orlando, get some help, and win on Tuesday.
That's a quick
I will
turnaround
say-
for any team, man.
It is. It's kind of ridiculous. The fact that
I-
like I could still be in Florida, and Atlanta could be playing a home game
Exactly.
back in Atlanta is
Yeah.
like kind of irritating to me. It's freaking schedule.
It is what it is at this point.
Whatever.
yeah,
whatever.
and MLS
whatever.
Mondays, one of these MLS Mondays coming up when we're in the off season, is going to be talking about how to make MLS better, and we will invite anyone that from Apple, like the big guys, the ones that make the phones, right? And then we'll get a couple people from
Tim Cook himself.
yeah, we'll bring
Stay
him
for
on.
Steve Jobs' spirit to come in.
I was
chat
gonna,
with-
so I was gonna say that, but then I didn't remember if Steve Jobs was alive or not. I completely had a brain
Very
fart.
much
No,
dead, Tommy.
So I had a brain fart. I was like, wait, is he around? I don't remember. He's
very much dead at last check.
I don't know.
Rest in peace, buddy.
Yeah, we'll bring Alexa onto the show. Everything, actually.
Siri
Alexa.
or Alexa?
Oh wait, what is? Oh, it's Siri. Never mind. Jeez.
Alexa.
This cough medicine's strong, guys. This is
That's why you said
It's real-
3-0 Atlanta.
it hits real. Anything that I've said today, just blame it on the cough medicines. These little pearls they give you, they've been knocking me out.
I want to know what you were going to ask Siri. Go ahead. I'm waiting.
I want to see if it. Who wins MLS Cup? Oh, it just told me that Columbus beat LAFC last year. That was lame.
Lame.
Yeah, you
Hey,
can't.
Siri,
You can't do
who
that.
do you predict will win MLS Cup 2024? But I don't want betting odds. What are the betting odds?
Miami.
Probably Miami.
Yep.
Miami's
Miami,
probably got the
Columbus.
best odds.
Closing in by guess what the team closing in the most is though?
Columbus.
No,
I'd say it's one of the
Orlando.
LAs.
LA. Galaxy.
LA Galaxy, and then
Makes sense.
LAFC, and then
Makes sense.
Columbus.
Columbus.
and then double that Salt
And
Lake,
then-
Cincinnati, Seattle, and then it goes down from there.
And then
So- And then anyway, there you go.
didn't think we get a dude's "Where's My Car" reference on here. All right. Well, either way, we are going to be back next week on MLS Monday, preparing you for the wild card games.
Whoever's
Be back on Wednesday to talk about whatever situation we're in. Maybe
There's a
MLS
lot
Monday
could
ends up
change
coming.
in a week.
No,
very fluid at
MLS
this point.
Monday could be Atlanta preview episode on Monday.
Yep.
Or who knows? Maybe there's a Henderson in the house on Monday. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there's a manager in place. Maybe it's everybody. Maybe we get everybody. Brad Guzan announces he just signed a 5-year extension. We don't know what's going to happen on
Very
Monday.
fluid.
So show up to MLS Monday. We have no idea what's going to happen. Then come back on Wednesday. But before that, sign up for patreon.com/scarves and spikes to join us in the Discord, and then to join us on the watch along. And we'll see if Tyler's still around. Like if Tyler comes, onto the watch along with a tattoo, then he went full Orlando. So we will see what happens. We'll see if he
That's
goes
Miami.
full Orlando. Stay away from bath salts. We wish you the best, Tyler.
I'm gonna try.
That
Wish me
is
the best of luck.
that's the national
careful.
food of Orlando is bath salts. So just stay away from them. And with that,
I don't want to end up in a
Thank you.
video game in Orlando.
when you're on bath salts, it probably feels like you're in a video game.
That's what I'm saying. And for those people you come at, they probably feel like they're in a video game too.
I
For a
can't
Patreon
say I've
episode, I should
ever
tell you guys a
tried
story.
bath salts.
I had a friend that was like Van Wilder that lived in at a college town, and he sold bath salts when like that whole thing was going on. He had a bath salt business.
That's an entrepreneur right there.
Right.
Yeah, it was a crazy story. It gets even darker than that, but we'll save that for Patreon.
After dark.
It's about time we do another story sharing Patreon episode.
Oh man, just don't give me any more cough pearls.
Cough girls.
I'm not good with any medicine. I've called the police off cough medicine before, thinking someone I opened all the windows in our bedroom, And
I'm sorry, sir. That is Ambien,
Are you sure?
cough
Yeah, I
medicine.
was gonna say, are you sure?
No,
that's
it was like the
medicine or-
cough night medicine, whatever, NyQuil or whatever.
NyQuil got you calling the cops?
Yeah, and they showed up
God
with
almighty, dude.
with the guns out and everything. Oh, it was and I just laughed. I just laughed. All right, the music's ended. We'll continue the story at another time. We got a lot of off season.
Go join Patreon, guys.
Join us, Henderson. Join us.